In the heart of ancient Athens, there is a flame that never dies. It burns in silence, inside the Prytaneum, tended day and night by a keeper whose name history will never record. This is not the story of battles or kings, but of quiet hours, footsteps in the square, the laughter of children, and the slow breath of a city at peace. Tonight, we journey into that silence. From dawn to midnight, you will walk beside the flame, feel its warmth, and hear the heartbeat of Athens through its quiet glow. Close your eyes and let the sacred fire lead you into sleep. You wake not as one startled from dream, but as a swimmer who has risen quietly from deep water. The first touch is the weight of wool, rough spun, pressed close upon your skin. It is heavier than the blankets of later ages, warmer too, yet scratchy as though it remembers the sheep's back from which it came. Faint threads of smoke cling to it, and the soft tang of olive oil burned through the night lingers in the air. Your hand moves across the mat. It is woven rush, firm beneath your weight, warmer where your body lay, cooler at the edges. Beneath it the ground is tamped earth, smooth for many feet, hardened by many years. When you shift, the floor holds your movement without echo. The house has been built to cradle silence, the way a jar cradles water. The first light of day does not fall as a blade but as a veil. Through the narrow shutter a beam enters, dust motes moving slowly within it, drifting as though each is a tiny spirit given brief life. The light reaches across the room to the altar stone where the lamp rests. It is a vessel of clay, broad in the belly, narrow in the mouth, the color of bread baked long. Upon its small pool of oil stands a flame no wider than 2 fingers, upright, still, alive without noise. It has burned since before you slept. It will burn until after you die. This is the flame of Hestia, hearth of the polis, breath of the city. You sit slowly, placing both feet upon the cool floor. Cold rises through your soles into your bones. You draw your wool robe about your knees. Before rising, you perform the morning act. With your right hand, you pour a palm of water upon the threshold. It darkens the earth, settles the dust, gives the faint, clean scent of clay after rain. The act is small, but it binds the night to the day. The walls are plastered, painted once in ochre and red, now faded like memories softened by years. Here and there, the mark of a reed pressed into wet plaster shows where the builder's hand lingered. The ceiling beams are dark wood, polished by time, carrying the smell of resin. From one beam hangs a rope notch, worn smooth by many years of use. Nothing here is young. Everything has been touched by long patience. You do not speak aloud. Words are for later, when the agora stirs with voices and sandals scrape stone. For now your voice is in your chest. You say the keeper's promise with breath, not sound. I will be gentle. I will be slow. I will watch. In the corner rests the reed broom. You lift it and sweep with strokes taught by generations. Long, steady, never hurried. Dust gathers into a low drift. You cup it in your hand and carry it to the hearth, tilting it into the ash that circles last night's ember. Ash is the lesson of fire. It teaches that what has burned is never lost, only changed. The lamp's wick is a twist of linen, blackened at the tip. You touch it with a bronze pin no thicker than a locust's leg. The flame shortens, steadies, breathes in a calmer rhythm. The room seems to sigh with it. Shadows loosen their edges. You open the shutter a hand's width. Outside, Athens is not yet noisy, but it is awake. A cart rumbles over stone, its wheels groaning. A hen clucks once in protest. Far off, a boy laughs, then quiets, remembering the rule of morning. Let the day be born gently. You stand in the doorway, within but not beyond the frame. The air greets you with the smell of barley stalks under thatch, the faint sour of goat hides, the cool trace of water from the well that owns the town more than any council does. The sky is pale, the first flies not yet daring. A clay jar by the wall waits, stoppered with woven reed. You lift it, carry it to the altar, unstopper it. Thick olive oil moves inside, slow and golden. On a low shelf rests the old vessel, cracked but whole, the one that once carried the flame. It has no fire now, yet it is not forgotten. It teaches that service ends but memory remains. When children ask why it is kept, you will say, because rest is also duty. Memory keeps us from beginning each day as if we were alone in the world. You seat yourself on the stool of olive wood, its legs polished by knees that have sat before you. The grain flows beneath your fingers like water shaped by wind. You place your hands upon your thighs and watch. Watching is work. You listen for all that might trouble the flame. A door thrown wide, a quarrel too sharp, a careless goat's horn against the jamb. The flame does not fear such things, but it is shy, and shyness must be guarded. The day stretches. The square begins to stir. From afar comes the murmur of barter. Figs traded for oil, fish salted and weighed. The creak of sandals, the patter of two dogs at ease. The bucket at the well drops, rope groaning, water answering. That sound is the true bell of the city. You remain in the doorway, keeper of the silent flame. Dawn has come, the polis breathes, the lamp breathes with it, and you, bound by promise, breathe with both. You do not hurry the morning. It is a vessel with a narrow mouth. Pour too fast and the day spills, and what is lost cannot be gathered again. The flame knows this, and it teaches by standing. You place your right hand over your heart and your left upon the altar stone. The stone is cool where the night held it, warmer where the lamp has breathed upon it. You take 3 breaths, slow as a herdsman calling his goats at dusk. With each breath, the room lifts and settles, lifts and settles. When you speak, you do not speak to be heard by ears. Your words are for the flame and for the breath that keeps it. Lady of the hearth, you say with the voice that does not strain, keeper of bonds, first to be honored and last to be thanked, receive this day. Let the city's feet be gentle upon its stones. Let the tons be measured. Let each fire that is taken from this lamp remember where it began. You take a pinch of ground resin from a small dish, frankness of trees, tears hardened by air, and you let the pinch fall upon the flame. It does not flare in pride. It folds the scent into itself, and a thin sweetness rises, a scent like mourned honey. The smoke climbs in a ribbon and loses itself in the dark of the rafters. You tilt a trickle of oil around the wick's base. The pool gleams and steadies, and the tongue of light grows neither taller nor shorter. It grows truer. The room has its order. The broom returns to its place. The water jar waits with its stopper set lightly, reed against clay. The little bronze cup you set near the altar catches a shard of light and gives it back. You trace the old mark upon the lintel with a thumb, the 2 lines that meet and do not close, the sign the first builders cut there to remind hands to be slow. The grain of the wood remembers that thumb, and your thumb remembers the wood, and in this exchange there is a small peace that lasts longer than what men buy in the square. Footsteps pass the door, 2 pairs, then 3. A murmur in the lane, a greeting traded low. The day has turned its first corner. You draw the shutter inward by the width of a finger, so the room will keep the deepness it needs, and you sit upon the olive wood stool. The stool was your teacher's stool, and his teachers before him. There are hollows upon the seat where the bones of men have rested and learned to do nothing well. A shadow falls. It is an old man's shape, thin at the shoulders, the head set forward like a bird listening for seed. He remains at the threshold, both hands resting upon the top of his staff, which is smooth in the middle and rough at the ends. He nods, not low, but with the measure due. Keeper, he says, my house fire died with the night. The wind was little, I was careless, or my years forgot. My daughter would strike flint, but my wife says better to borrow the city's breath. You incline your head and lift a clay brazier no bigger than a man's open hand. You have kept such little bowls on a shelf for as long as you have kept the stool. You hold the brazier toward the flame, not so near as to offend it, not so far that the coal would be cold by the door. You wait. The lamp licks the black nugget of yesterday's ember, and the ember shows a vein of red like a berry beneath skin. When you see that vein grow, you set a sliver of dry twig upon it and watch it take the heat, like a good word takes in a willing ear. Then you hand the little brazier to the old man across the line that is the door. Cover it with the shard and walk without haste, you say. When you reach your hearth, do not blow as men blow horn. Bend low and speak to it as you would speak to your first grandson. Fire hears that voice. He smiles with the few teeth left to him and goes with the careful step of one who carries both coal and memory. He does not thank you aloud. The gift is not yours, and he knows it. Soon after comes a young woman with a veil drawn, not against shame, but against the wind that throws grit into eyes. The veil is of loosely woven linen, and the morning light makes a simple lamp of her face behind it. In her hands, she holds an empty lamp of her own, shallow, with a lip chipped by use. "Keep her," she says, and her voice carries the thin tremble of a first thing done without a mother's eye upon it. "Today, I go from my father's house to the house of my husband's father. The women have sung and tied my hair. My aunt says I must take the first light for my new hearth from this lamp. Then my marriage will not wander. May I stand near?" You bring the little lamp near the altar and set it upon a flat stone set there for that purpose. You pour a finger of oil into its belly. The oil is not rich. It is the plain oil of beans pressed with patience. You lift a braided wick with bronze tongues. Let it drink, then touch it to Hestia's tongue. Your lamp's wick takes the gift without noise. You wait until its small flame has its own mind. Then you place it back into her hands. "Do not hurry your feet," you say. "When you enter the new doorway, let the flame cross the threshold before you do. Set it upon the hearthstone and do not speak until its circle is steady." Her eyes moisten, though no tears fall. She bows with the humility due not to you, but to the place. "My mother's hearth sends its thanks," she says, "and the children that will lie upon my mat send theirs, though they do not know it yet." She goes, small lamp cupped like a bird she will not crush. The lane gathers more steps. Sandals pass, the leather muttering upon stone. From the agora, a laugh breaks. Then two other voices soothe it down. A boy's whistle rises and falls like a small fish surfacing and vanishing. A woman argues with the price of figs and wins by the thickness of a coin shaved. All the city's breath comes and goes past your door, never forgetting the line that marks a house made for silence. The potter's boy returns, this time with a man's step behind him. The father whose hands remember riverbanks better than writing. He carries the new oil vessel wrapped in a cloth. The cloth is clean, but its edges are stained with glaze where his fingers forgot to wash before touching it. He stops at the threshold and does not cross. The boy looks between you and the vessel as though he wants both to smile at the same hour. "Keep her," the potter says. "I have shaped what our town asked of me. A belly that will not boast, a neck that will not choke, a clay that learned leisure from water. If the lamp will look upon it and not turn its face, I will call the work finished." You rise and take the weight from his hands. You turn the jar in the dim light. The clay is the color of fig bread, speckled where sand had its say. Your palm runs over the shoulder and feels no ridge that would offend the rim of the ladle. You set the jar within the lamp's notice and say nothing. The lamp leans the least part of a hair toward it, no more than a reed bends when a lizard climbs upon it. You nod once, and that is the only praise a potter needs when he has already praised himself with patience. "Let it sit upon the floor by the altar this day and the next," you say, "so the room may teach it the pace we keep. Clay remembers not only the hands that formed it, but the air that will live with it." The potter bows, not deeply, for his back is a book written by labor and too stiff for show. The boy's eyes shine as lamps will shine at dusk. They go, and you hear the father's voice low in the lane, telling the son what is to be learned from a keeper's nod. A scribe approaches, and you can smell wax before you see him, the clean suite of bees that have given their work to a board. He carries a writing board hinged like a shell, the inner faces filled with dark wax, scored with lines that mean debt, hire, measure, and oath. He is younger than his beard pretends, and his hair is combed back as carefully as his thoughts. "Keeper," he says, "the council meets at noon. Before they sit, they will send for a coal. They wish the first breath of the assembly to be warmed by Hestia. Shall I announce the hour?" He does not need to. The hour announces itself all over the city as shadows draw short and men and women begin to think of water and rest. But forms matter, and speech has its own cart to draw. You incline your head. If the council wishes to be warmed, let them step with unshod feet upon their own thresholds before coming, you say. A man who does not honor the door of his house cannot honor the city's door. Bring a coal bowl at the 6th measure of shade. He bows and scratches a mark into the wax with his stylus. You do not envy him his lines, nor he you your ash. Each calling writes upon something that refuses to forget. A child peeks round the door, the same girl with the whistle yesterday, now with hands empty and courage slightly larger. She does not speak. She steps in by a pace, looks at the lamp, then places her palms upon the floor as you sometimes do when you ask your chest to be taut. She stays 3 breaths. Her shoulders drop. Then she lifts the broken halves of the whistle from the hearth where you left them and takes them away, not to hide them, but to bury them beneath the fig tree by her mat. You do not call after her. She does not need words to know the lesson. 2 young men come with faces too smooth for age and eyes a shade too bright for mourning. You know that brightness. It comes from speech, sharpened by listening to men who love victory more than truth. They will argue today in the agora about courage or justice, or who should sit closest to the bronze that rings before a proclamation. They will lift their hands, palms forward, and the crowd will approve until the sun reminds them to seek shadow. But before that, they stop at the door like boys who half remember that they once were boys. Keeper, the taller says, give us a coal for the stones where we speak. The air is thick with gnats today, and smoke will help. You lift your eyes and regard him as you would regard a young goat that believes the hill is his friend. The stones where men speak must smell of water, not of smoke, you say. If your words draw gnats, swat your words, not the gnats. His friend laughs once and then looks ashamed because laughter too loud startles the lamp. You do not offer them a coal, but you do not turn them away without a gift. If you must have fire, you say, put it into your chests. Before you speak, lay your hand upon the nearest column and count your breath until your palm is warm. Then say the first sentence you meant to say, and leave the second unsaid. Men will remember the first better for the absence of the second. They leave with mouths half smiling and half stubborn. They will forget your counsel until their tongues wound them, and then they will remember. Memory enters by one door and exits by another. Your work is to keep the doors oiled. The sun climbs. Heat lies upon the paving stones of the square like a sheet of fine bronze. The city's noises spread and thin, as if a hand were smoothing a wrinkled cloth over a table. A fish seller's call snaps like a twig, then is softened by a woman's bargaining, then is swallowed by the hollow note of a bronze bowl struck by a boy too young to know why a note travels farther when he strikes less hard. A donkey shakes its head and the wicker pannier creaks. Somewhere out of sight, a lyre plucks an idle string and gives up, not because the string is false, but because the player remembers the hour and saves his song for shade. A man in a travel-stained cloak pauses at your door. His sandals show long miles of stone and dust, and the lines at the corners of his eyes are new. He carries no staff, only a skin of water and a pouch. He does not ask for coal, nor oil, nor words. He asks for a place for his breath to stand and not be driven. You look at the flame. The flame looks at him. You lift your palm toward the cool floor within the door. He sits, not within the room, but upon the threshold itself. He sets his back to the jam and his pack beside him. He closes his eyes and does nothing in so deliberate a way that a passerby might think he is at work. After a time that is neither long nor short, he opens his eyes and bows, not to you, not to the lamp, but to the place where he sat. He stands and goes with steps less thirsty. Such men are your kin, though you never know their names. From the direction of the council hall, a herald's staff claps the stones. The sound has the weight of habit, not the pride of command. Men drawn by the sound do not run. They turn their feet as a flock turns when the first sheep remembers a path. The scribe returns with the coal bowl. It is of fired clay, shallow, rim chipped by a clumsy cousin. He holds it with both hands like a man presenting bread. "Keeper," he says, voice lower than before, as if the nearer hour has humbled it. "The elders are gathered. Let us carry a breath of the city with us." You set a small, dark coal upon the lamp's lip with the tongs, and you wait as its face blushes. When the color spreads, you lay a sliver of dry olive twig upon it, and it takes. Then you set both into the bowl upon a bed of ash saved for this. You hand the bowl across the door to the scribe, and he receives it with the care of one who carries both warmth and law. He bows and turns, not lifting the bowl high, but keeping it low where an ember's pride cannot see it. "Tell them," you say, though he does not need to be told, "that breath must be taken before speech is given." He lifts the bowl a finger's breadth in assent and is gone. You hear his steps fade and the staff clap once more. The city takes a breath. You feel it in your chest, though your chest is not in the council hall. The sun climbs to that angle where men's shadows lie close to their feet, and women's veils grow hotter than patience likes. The birds that were noisy at first light grow careful. A lizard that had been brave now lingers between two stones and considers caution a virtue. It is noon, not by the measure of a stick or a shadow, but by the measure of men seeking shade. This is the hour of few visitors. It is the hour when your labor is most like the flames, simply being. You trim the wick, a thumb's width, and it answers. You pour a trickle of oil so sparingly that a stranger would miss it. You sit. You drink water from the bronze cup and taste the faint tin of the metal, the faint earth of the well. You set the cup down, careful that it does not ring upon the stone. A ring is not always a song, and yet the door does not stay empty. There is always one more need before the hour that wishes for none. An old woman comes, not the sharp-eyed staff-bearer whose counsel you honor, but another, softer at the jaw and fuller at the waist, with a knot of bread baked too long in her cloth. "Keeper," she says, and her voice carries wheat and wood smoke. "I burned the loaves while quarreling with my brother's wife over salt. My house smells of char. I have brought the worst of them so the lamp can eat our shame." You shake your head, not in reproof, but in truth. The lamp eats no shame. Eat your own bread. Chew it slowly, and let its bitterness teach your hands to return to patience. When your house smells of char, open the roof board and let the sky drink your lesson. She looks at you, then at the altar, then at the loaf. A smile finds the corner of her mouth as if it had been lost there for some days. She bows and takes the loaf back into her cloth. She will break it among her own, and they will make faces and laugh, and the laughter will wash the quarrel from the salt more surely than any sacrifice. The lane is empty. The flies have claimed their share of the world, and grow bold until a lizard takes one and strikes a balance. Somewhere a child sleeps with his hand still curled as if upon a toy he held before sleep remembered it had work to do. A man in the square speaks too loud and is shushed by 3 women at once. The city's heart beats, slow, then slower. In the cool of the dim room you stand and walk the perimeter as your teacher taught you, hand grazing the wall, eyes learning the small places where plaster has cracked by the width of a hair, ears learning how the silence sits. There is a spot near the eastern corner where the floor dips the thickness of a coin. A man could live here all his life and never know it, but the lamp would know. You keep such knowing for the day when weight comes and needs distributing. On the shelf, the old vessel sits with a new flake crumbled from its rim, thinner than a fingernail, lying upon the stone like a petal fallen from a flower that does not bloom anymore. You do not sweep it. You leave it where it fell so the room remembers that even what has served wears away with beauty. Heat presses its wide hand against the city, even the cats consider treaty. Beyond the shutter, feet pass with less pride. Sandals lift and return in the rhythm men have learned since men walked. You sit again, you breathe in, you breathe out, the lamp does likewise. You and the lamp and the city, 3 breaths in agreement. A day well begun. Then, from far but not too far, the hollow thump of a staff upon stone. The sound returns, once, twice, as if counting. The council's first business has ended. There will be others. Some men will be pleased, some will be pricked. Most will go home and tell their wives what they think was decided, then forget by morning and remember again at supper. The coal you sent will rest in a basin much like yours, and a clerk will forget it until the scent of cooling twig reminds him that even decisions have ash. At the edge of noon, a boy slips to the door, thin as a reed, eyes sharp with that hunger which is not for bread. He bears a small lyre, its strings tuned to nothing certain, its wood soft with age and handling. He bows without art, then looks up. "Keeper," he says, "may I sit here and play one note until it is right?" Music is not a thing you were given charge over, but sound is a neighbor to flame, and neighbors share doors. You lift your palm toward the threshold. He sits, not within, not without, as all wise players of any art should. He touches the string and lets a single tone ride the warm air. It wavers, he listens, he touches again. Each time the sound grows truer, not louder. He does not seek applause, he seeks clarity. When he finds it, he smiles that small, surprised smile that belongs to craftsmen when the world shows it is willing to be shaped. He bows to the space and to you and goes. The note remains long after his steps have died. You look to the lamp. The flame stands as it has stood all morning. Not taller, not leaner, yet not the same. Nothing that breathes remains what it was, and yet in stillness there is something that does not break. The hour has thickened. You let the shutter fall by another finger's width. The room yields to the dim as a field yields to night, when night comes in summer without warning. You place both palms upon the earth and feel its cool rise through your bones. There is a sweetness in earth that olive oil cannot teach and water cannot carry. Men forget this sweetness because their feet have learned leather and their hands have learned bronze. But the earth remains, and it says nothing unkind about your forgetting. It only waits to be touched. You speak again, not with a voice that asks for things, but with the voice that thanks. "Lady of the hearth," you say in your chest, "receive the little that has been given. Coal to an old man, flame to a bride, patience to a quarrel, a breath to a traveler, a note to a boy. If more is needed, send it through hands steadier than mine." A fly lands upon the rim of the altar, considers pride, then reconsiders and leaves. Pride is work for cooler hours. The sound from the square returns in a light thread, cloth being folded, a board being leaned against a stall. The city begins to slow its day in preparation for the long middle. You rise and pour a palm of water upon the threshold again, binding first half to second, as you bound night to morning. The darkened earth drinks without complaint. From beyond the gate of the city, a single hollow clang of bronze arrives, the kind of sound that tells men the gate is being closed only halfway, to keep out dogs who have learned to beg better than men. Somewhere an infant begins to complain because noon is a thief of milk. Somewhere a man tells a story that belongs to the evening, and his friend tells him to keep it for wine. The world moves without need of your telling it how. You remain, as keepers must remain, in a house made to hold silence without crushing it. The flame is small, and the city is large, and the sky is larger. But you hold a piece of the city that the sky cannot touch without asking. You call nothing to you, you let all come. Morning has reached its rest. The rites are done, which means they have only begun. You return the bronze pin to its place, lay the tongues upon their hook, set the reed broom so that its straws will not memorize a bend you do not want. You drink again, one mouth only, because water taken without thirst offends the well. You rest your hands upon your knees. Your gaze falls upon the old vessel, then upon the new, then returns to the flame. Outside, a cicada begins his plea to the sun. He will continue until he is out of breath or out of life, and neither will trouble him when they come. A dog snaps at a fly and misses and lies down to consider fate. The Prytaneon stones keep the shade they have saved since before your father was born. The flame listens to all this with the same attention it gives to your breath. The flame keeps the city's first word for the day, and will keep its last. You are only the man who remembers to listen. The shutter trembles under a small finger of wind that slipped through the streets where no wind seemed possible. It is the city's way of telling you that some clouds have found courage at the horizon and are speaking to the hills, or else that heat itself has decided to move its weight from one shoulder to the other. You lift your eyes to the seam of light. The dust there is a slow river. In it you see what you always see when you watch long enough, that nothing hurries and everything does. Noon has settled, which is a kind of ascent, not a fall. The stone is warm beneath your feet. Your chest is a quiet room. The lamp is the small sun of that room. The city turns its face toward shade. You will sit until the hour breaks, then rise and make the next small axe, and the next, and the next. These acts are little as ash, and like ash they hold the shape of the fire that made them. The rites of morning have done their work. Men have taken coals and counsel. Women have taken steadiness into milk and bread. Children have taken a lesson from silence that words could not have given them without waste. You have taken nothing. You have been taken by the day. That is enough. And now, as the light contracts and thickens, as sandals slow and flies grow bold, as the council's bowl cools and the scribe closes his wax boards over lines that will be opened again, you prepare for the hour when Athens leans fully into its heat. You turn the wick with the care one gives to the wrist of a sleeping child. You draw the shutter by the width of a last finger. The room holds its breath with you. The city outside continues to breathe. The morning is complete. The sun has climbed to its height. Shadows shrink close to the columns, small and tense, as if they fear the open ground. Stones of the square hold the heat, warm as bronze pulled from the forge. The air presses down, heavy, unwilling to move. From the well comes the sound of rope groaning, bucket striking water. Two women lift together, shoulders bent, arms shining with sweat. They carry the jar between them, step by step, sandals slapping the stone with tired rhythm. Their laughter is brief, almost accidental, before silence returns. A mother spreads a cloak beneath her child near your door. The boy sleeps, cheek pressed to the cloth, breath slow, lips open. She waves a palm leaf above him, steady as the wing of a slow bird. Now and again her eyes wander toward your flame, as though its calm might cool the heat on her skin. Merchants sit behind their stalls in the agora. their voices faint. No one shouts, words come low, like prayers half-spoken. Coins pass hand to hand without joy. Figs rest heavy in baskets, fish dry in the sun. Jars of honey attract flies that crawl and circle until brushed away. The potter's apprentice comes past the hall. His arms are full of clay jars, pale and fragile. He sets them down by the colonnade to let the sun harden what the kiln has not. Dust streaks his face, sweat shines at his temples. When he glances toward you, he nods once, too weary for words but unwilling to forget the lamp. Farther off, a smith's hammer rings against iron, slow and heavy, each strike falling like a heart that labors in the heat. The sound travels faint through the thick air, then fades, swallowed by cicadas. Their song begins in the olive trees, shrill, unbroken, stubborn as the sun itself. Inside, the flame does not waver. You trim the wick, pour a careful thread of oil, and the lamp steadies. How small it is, and yet how it outlasts the weight of noon. The lesson is plain. What endures is often quiet. An old woman comes carrying a shallow bowl wrapped in cloth. Her veil clings to her damp face, and she moves as if each step were bargained with the stones. "Keeper," she says, "my house is full of flies. Give me a coal so I may burn thyme and drive them out." You lift a glowing ember from the ash bed, place it in her bowl, and add a pinch of resin. Smoke curls, sharp and sweet, a promise of relief. She bows and goes, and you picture the thin blue thread of smoke rising through her rafters, the flies fleeing its bite. Not long after, two boys pass the threshold, one with a reed pipe, the other with a cracked lyre. They argue about who will play in the shade and who must stand in the sun. Their quarrel is brief, cut short by the weight of heat. At last they sit together in silence, the lyre resting across dusty knees, the pipe held but not played. Even youth bows at noon. The city grows quieter. Doors close, shutters fall, courtyards sink into stillness. Only the cicadas continue, their chorus sharp, endless, like a single thread pulled too tight. Athens itself seems to drowse, every street heavy with waiting. You pour a palm of water upon the threshold as you did at dawn. The earth darkens, and the faint scent rises, clay after rain. It cools the room in memory if not in truth. This is the way hours are bound, night to morning, morning to noon, each act small, each act necessary. You sit once more on the olive wood stool. The flame stands, thin and patient, untouched by heat or weariness. You breathe with it, steady and slow. The city breathes too, though faintly, beneath the tyranny of the sun. The doorway holds its shadow even at noon. Here, light is broken by the frame, softened before it touches the stone floor. You sit within, the flame behind you, the city beyond. This is the border where silence and noise meet. A potter passes first. His tunic is stained with clay, his hands rough, cracked like old potsherds. He carries no vessel today, only the weariness of shaping them. He pauses at the door, nods once and continues, sandals dragging on the stones. Respect without words, small as dust, yet lasting. Later, a young mother appears. Her child clings to her hip, heavy with sleep, cheek pressed against her shoulder. She whispers that the night was restless, the child fevered, the house cold. You give her a coal wrapped in ash, small and safe, to keep the child's room warm through the afternoon. She bows, her eyes tired but grateful, and the child stirs only to sigh deeper into her robe. An old woman follows, slower, leaning on a stick, polished smooth by years. She carries nothing but a folded cloth. "Keeper," she murmurs, "I quarreled with my neighbor over salt. My house feels sharp with anger. Give me a coal so I may burn laurel and make the air gentler." You nod, lift an ember, and set it upon her cloth. When she leaves, she holds it close, like a memory she will not let slip. Two young men pass together. Their voices are bright, eager, too quick for the stillness of this place. They half bow, half smile, and ask nothing, only glance at the flame as though daring it to notice them. Their sandals clatter on stone, then fade. Youth does not always know reverence, yet even careless feet grow quiet near the hearth. At last a traveler comes. Dust covers his cloak, his face burned by sun. He carries no staff, only a small pouch slung at his side. He asks not for coal, nor for water, only to rest upon the threshold. You gesture, and he sits with his back against the frame, eyes closed, breathing slowly. When he rises, he bows, not to you but to the place, and walks on lighter than before. Through it all, the flame remains steady. It listens without judgment, receives without demand. At the doorway you feel the rhythm of Athens. Sandals striking stone, jars shifting on shoulders, voices rising and fading. Inside, the lamp answers only with quiet. Between the two you sit, the stillness at the heart of movement. The morning has stretched long, and now it bends toward rest. The voices of the square grow softer, the calls of merchants fewer. Even the air changes, heavy with heat, carrying the faint sweetness of figs opened too early. You rise from the stool and take the reed broom once more. Its straws whisper across the floor, gathering the dust of passing sandals. You sweep slowly, careful not to stir the stillness. Dust drifts into the circle of ash, where it disappears without mark. At the altar you lift the bronze pin and trim the wick by a hair. The flame dips, then steadies, thinner, cleaner, breathing in a calmer rhythm. How precise it is. How it teaches that strength lies not in size, but in balance. You pour a palm of water upon the threshold. The earth darkens, cool as skin touched by shade. A faint scent rises, clay after rain, binding 1 hour to the next. This act is small, yet without it the day would feel broken. Beyond the doorway, silence grows. Children have slipped indoors to sleep. Dogs stretch long beneath the portico, paws twitching in dreams. From the hill a raven glides, its shadow sliding over the square, then vanishing. You lift the old vessel, the cracked jar that once carried the flame. Its rim has shed another flake, pale as a dry petal. You do not sweep it away, you leave it where it fell. Even what is broken has place in the room, reminding you that service does not end with perfection. The city breathes slow. From far off, the blacksmith's hammer sounds once, then rests. From nearer still, the creak of a cart, the sigh of a mule, the low hum of cicadas weaving their endless thread. Athens lives, but in this hour it lives gently. You sit again upon the olive wood stool. The flame glows before you, not louder, not brighter, yet sure. It has stood through the dawn, through the rites, through the noise of the square. It will stand through the noon, the feasts, the night. Its breath is the city's breath. Your task is only to remember. The shutter is drawn a little and the room holds its cool dimness. Your hands rest upon your knees, your eyes upon the steady light. One part of the day has closed, another waits to open. You have bound them together with water, ash, and watchfulness. So the morning ends. The city leans into its heat, and the flame, quiet and faithful, carries Athens into the next hour. The flame burns steady, yet outside the city stirs with another rhythm. From beyond the doorway comes a rising hum, Athens drawing its first loud breath of the day. You do not leave the Prytaneon, but sound carries. It climbs the steps, slides through shutters, rests upon the stones. And so you hear the square before you see it. A cart rattles over uneven ground, its wheels squealing like tired gulls. The mule snorts, stamping against the heat, while the driver clicks his tongue in patient command. Two boys run ahead, chasing the dust it leaves, laughing until their breath fails them. Voices swell and blend. One calls out figs, sweet and ripe. Another boasts of olives cured in brine, sharp enough to sting the tongue. A third sings prices for fish, the song breaking when a customer interrupts with sharper words. Closer still, sandals strike stone. Men in plain chitons walk with jars under arm. Women carry baskets balanced on hips. The smell of fresh bread drifts, warm and yeasty, quickly joined by the salt tang of drying fish. The square is awake, and with it the city. Inside, the lamp glows, unmoved by the noise. You remain the still point. listening. The agora speaks many tongues at once, and yet all of them, in time, pass by this flame. The square grows fuller with each step of the sun. Stalls open like flowers, cloths pulled back, baskets set in neat rows. Merchants raise their voices, though the heat already weighs upon their throats. Olives from the hill, green and sharp, black and sweet. Wine pressed last month, taste before you buy. Fish still shining from Piraeus, quick before the sun takes them. The cries weave together, louder than prayer, yet no less ritual. Every stall is an altar, every coin a sacrifice. A woman haggles for figs, her voice sharp as flint, the seller slower, patient, as though he has all the day to win. They strike a bargain, each walking away with half a smile, each convinced of victory. Nearby, a potter displays cups the color of pale sand. He taps one with his nail. It rings faintly, thin but true. A man leans close, turning the cup in his hand, nodding at the smooth rim. The deal is sealed with a clasp, no words wasted. Children dart between stalls, quick as minnows. One clutches a crust of bread, another steals a grape when he thinks no one sees. A vendor swats the air, more for show than anger. The children scatter, laughter trailing like loose ribbons. The hum of the crowd reaches the prytanean. It fills the doorway, rests upon the altar stone, but does not disturb the flame. The lamp stands calm, breathing slowly, while the city outside spends its breath in trade. You listen, as you always do. The noise is not yours to master, but it is yours to witness. And in the blend of shouts and murmurs, you hear not only buying and selling, but the heartbeat of Athens itself. Amid the noise of trade, another sound rises. Not the call of goods, not the clink of coins, but voices sharpened by thought. Young men gather at the steps of a colonnade. Their chitons are plain, yet their eyes are bright, burning not with labor, but with argument. One gestures wide, palm cutting the air. Another laughs, shaking his head as though the world itself had made a mistake. Justice is the measure of all men, shouts the first. No, pleasure is the root of life, cries the second. A third, quieter, folds his arms, waiting his turn like a hunter waiting for prey. Passers-by pause. A merchant sets down his basket of figs to listen. A boy, too young to follow, mimics their gestures, his hands rising and falling in silent debate. Even a stray dog stops, tilts its head, then moves on when no bread is offered. The voices clash, rise, fall, overlap. Each word is meant to win, not to settle. And yet the crowd hums with approval, for Athens loves the sound of thought as much as the weight of coin. From your doorway you hear every word, though the meaning drifts like smoke, hard to catch, harder to keep. The flame listens too, but it does not choose sides. It burns the same for justice, for pleasure, for silence. At last the debate breaks, laughter spilling where logic failed. The young men part, still smiling, each certain he has triumphed. The square returns to trade as if nothing had happened, but in the air remains the faint echo of words, like ripples on water after a stone has sunk. The noise of trade thins for a moment, and in its place comes the sound of staff striking stone. 3 times it falls, slow and heavy, and the crowd bends toward the sound as grass bends to wind. A herald walks through the square. His cloak is travel-stained, his staff topped with bronze. He does not shout, he only raises his hand. Yet silence spreads before him, for the staff is older than any man, and its voice is enough. Whispers follow in his wake. News from Sparta. Ships at Piraeus. Tribute unpaid. Each guess grows louder, until the guesses themselves sound like truth. The herald climbs the steps of the council hall. His voice, when it comes, is strong but distant to you. Words scatter in the air. War alliance envoys grain. They rise high, then break apart like birds startled from a tree. In the lane, 2 men argue what they have heard. One swears the Spartans march already. The other laughs, saying it is only talk to raise taxes. A woman passes them both, her basket of bread balanced steady, her face unmoved by their noise. From your doorway you hear everything and nothing. Rumors drift like smoke, shifting, vanishing, leaving only the faint taste of ash. The flame does not waver. It burns for weddings and quarrels alike, for grain and for war, for what is spoken and what is forgotten. At last the herald's staff strikes stone again. The square exhales, noise returns, merchants shout, children cry, sandals scrape. Athens moves on, its heart unchanged, its breath steady. And you remain, keeper of the flame, watching the smoke of rumor curl upward, dissolve, and be gone. The square swells again, voices overlapping, sandals scraping, the hum of Athens louder than the wind. Merchants call out the last of their goods. Fish grow soft in the sun, figs split at the seam, bread grows dry at the edge of cloth. Buyers hurry before the heat grows too sharp, before the shade runs short. Children play once more, their shouts bouncing against the stone walls. A girl claps her hands in rhythm, a boy beats a stick upon a jar, their small chorus lost quickly in the greater tide of sound. A beggar drags himself to the fountain, his bowl is empty, his eyes clouded. Some give him a coin, others pass as though blind. Still he lifts his voice, cracked but steady, and the words fall into the air like pebbles into water. All of it reaches you. The cry of sellers, the clash of debate, the roll of rumor, the laugh of children, the plea of the poor. Each sound touches the doorway, each passes the flame, and each fades into ash. Inside, the lamp burns unchanged. Its tongue of fire does not rise with the crowd, does not bend with their quarrels, does not shrink with their fear. It breathes only as it has always breathed, calm, patient, certain. You sit again upon the olive-wood stool. The noise of the agora swirls beyond the walls, but within these stones, silence gathers. You pour a drop of oil at the base of the wick, and the flame answers softly, a steady heart against the chaos. Athens will always be loud. But in this place, the noise returns as quiet, and quiet binds the city more deeply than any shout. The sun has climbed to its throne, unyielding and absolute. Its light pours down without mercy, flooding every stone, every wall, every roof. Shadows shrink until they cling to the feet of columns, mere stains of darkness that cannot grow, cannot stretch, cannot hide. The marble of steps gleams too bright to touch. Walls breathe out the heat they have swallowed since morning. Stones glow underfoot, warm as shields left too long upon a battlefield, their heat rising in waves, burning upward into the air itself. The breath in your chest grows heavy. Each inhalation is a task, each exhalation a surrender. The air presses upon you not like wind, but like a weight laid across your ribs, slow, cruel, relentless. Even sparrows have fallen silent. They perch with wings drooping, beaks parted in panting stillness. Dogs lie flat against the dust, tongues spread wide upon the stones, eyes half shut, dreaming of shade that does not come. The hour feels endless, a wall of heat without seam or crack. And yet the flame before you stands upright, thin, calm, a sliver of gold against the weight of noon. It bends to nothing, defies the sun in silence. The groan of rope, the splash of buckets, Athens drinks slowly from its wells. Two women haul water jars together. Their tunics cling damp to their backs, and yet laughter, faint but stubborn, flickers across their faces. One leans her jar against her hip, her arm trembling, but her voice still teases her companion. A boy leans to drink from cupped hands. Half his water spills, silver droplets bright upon the stone. He laughs, careless, until his mother scolds him. Her words, tired more than stern, softened by the weariness of heat. Even the mule lowers its head. It drinks slow, lips trembling, water falling back into the trough like coins slipping from a careless hand. Steam rises faint from its hide, sweat mixed with dust, the scent sharp in the heavy air. You lift the bronze cup to your lips. The water cools your mouth for one breath only, but that breath is enough. A mercy, small but true. The flame before you glows steady, untouched by thirst, its hunger fed only by oil and patience. Athens folds into itself. Doors draw tight, shutters close, courtyards fall quiet, their fountains stilled, their voices hushed. The streets lie bare. Only a beggar remains, curled against a wall. His bowl lies empty by his side. His chest rises slow, his sleep deeper than coin or hunger. A stray cat curls upon a step. Her eyes are half closed, her tail flicks once against the heat, a gesture as small and stubborn as her survival. Above, cicadas cry without pause. An endless chorus, shrill, piercing, 1,000 voices woven into one. Their rhythm is the hour itself, unyielding, relentless, a sound that both fills the silence and deepens it. The city seems emptied, but you know better. Behind wood and stone, life waits. Families huddle in courtyards, fanning themselves with woven reeds. Children nap in the shade of walls. Merchants rest with their goods locked tight, dreaming of cooler hours. The police breathe still, but in whispers, not in song. Waiting, enduring, surviving until shadow returns. Even in this hour, some still come. An old woman leans upon her stick. Her veil clings damp to her cheeks. Her steps are slow, yet her eyes remain clear. "Keeper," she whispers, "my house is full of flies. Let me burn thyme so the air may rest." You lift a coal into her bowl. The ember takes hold, and you know soon blue smoke will rise, sharp and sweet, driving the insects away. Later, a young mother pauses at your door. Her child sleeps heavy upon her shoulder, his skin hot, his lips dry. You hand her a coal wrapped in ash, safe to carry, and she bows low before leaving. With it, she will warm water, soothe her son, ease his thirst. Her eyes shine, gratitude deeper than words can hold. A potter's apprentice passes. His arms are full of pale jars, new clay still smelling of the riverbank. He does not ask for flame. He only nods once, a silent respect, and continues down the lane, feet dragging, yet steady. These are the faces of noon, tired, lined with sweat, yet still moving, because life does not wait, not even for the sun. The hour thickens. Flies grow bold, landing on every surface, driven mad by the heat. The stones burn beneath the feet, the air quivers in waves, and cicadas stretch their cries until it seems the air itself vibrates. The city dozes in weariness. Men lie upon mats in courtyards, women rest with jars at their sides, fanning children through half-sleep. Even dogs give up their growls, their tongues spread wide against dust. And yet, the flame does not falter. It does not sway. It does not bow. It holds its narrow circle of light, calm as a monk in prayer, sure as a star that has never forgotten its place. You trim the wick, pour a thread of oil. The lamp accepts in silence, its glow unchanged, its hunger satisfied not by plenty but by patience. Ash gathers soft around the coal, gray folding over red, yesterday's life becoming today's memory. You sit again upon the olive wood stool, your hands rest, your eyes steady. Athens outside swelters and sleeps, but within these walls the flame breathes slow, unwavering. Noon has come. Noon will pass, and the flame endures. Afternoon presses its hand heavy upon Athens. Heat clings to walls, roof tiles, the very dust beneath your feet. It seeps into courtyards, settles upon shutters, refuses to release even the smallest breath of coolness. And then, like a second heartbeat, you hear the baths. The sound comes first. Water striking stone again and again, splashes folding into echoes, a rhythm steady as the hand of a drummer. Men step out into the light, hair dripping, skin shining with water and oil. They laugh. Not hurried laughter, but the kind that comes after weariness has lifted. The laughter of bodies cleansed, of shoulders eased, of dust and sweat washed away. The scent drifts on the wind, wet clay newly cooled, olive oil rubbed into tired muscles, the faint smoke of fires that warmed the cauldrons. It mingles with the dry air of the streets, sweet against harsh, soft against the bitterness of dust. From your doorway you listen. The baths cleanse with water, the flame cleanses with silence. Both, in their own way, serve the polis. A boy hurries past, arms full of rough linen towels. His bare feet slap stone as he calls over his shoulder, "Father, the fire grows low." His father bends over the bathhouse hearth, stoking wood beneath a bronze cauldron. It rumbles deep, steam lifting in white columns, curling into the air, wetting every stone. Inside, voices swell. Men speak of vineyards heavy with grapes, of ships delayed by contrary winds, of debts scratched into wax. One boasts of his olives, another jokes of his neighbor's stubborn mule. Laughter follows, but the mist softens all sharpness, folding every word until even quarrels sound like song. Sandals slap against wet stone, bronze strigils scrape oil from skin, their high notes like reeds bending in the wind. Someone tips a jug, and water cascades down a broad back, splashing against walls darkened by years of steam. The air carries thyme and resin, burned so the scent may last longer than sweat, so men leave smelling of green hills rather than toil. For a moment the bathhouse itself feels like a city within the city, breathing, murmuring, alive. You return your gaze to the flame. It murmurs nothing, yet endures as surely as stone. Far from the baths, kitchens stir awake, ovens roar, clay glowing red, and the streets begin to breathe their heat. The smell of bread arrives first. Flat loaves blister at the edges, crusts splitting with steam, soft hearts hidden within dark skin. Then comes the bite of onions, sharp enough to sting eyes from across the lane. The sweetness of figs mashed into paste follows, sticky and rich, a fragrance heavy as honey. Fish sizzle upon bronze pans, oil spitting, its tang cutting the air like a blade. Somewhere lamb turns slowly upon an iron spit, the fat dripping into flame, sending up smoke that clings to the skin. Children wander close, sniffing the air, tugging at their mother's robes as if breath alone could feed their hunger. Men return from the baths, hair damp, shoulders bare, their steps light after water's labor. They find tables already waiting, bowls of olives, crumbs of cheese, wine darkened with water so it may last the night. You sit in your doorway, and the very air feels swollen, not only with food but with promise. For feasting is not hunger's answer alone. It is the city reminding itself of plenty. The hour of feasting brings its visitors. A servant rushes first, lamp empty in his hands. His master waits for the banquet fire. You light a coal, fold it into ash, place it within his vessel. He bows quickly, already thinking of laughter, of wine, of songs waiting in courtyards. Later, a young man arrives, an oil jar pressed against his side. My father says, he tells you, a banquet without Hestia's fire is no banquet at all. You lower his wick to the altar. It drinks from the sacred flame, and when he lifts it, the tongue of light burns clear and upright. He holds it carefully, as though cradling a newborn bird, and steps away with reverence. Each visitor reminds you, the flame does not belong only here. It walks to 100 hearths, joins 100 tables, sings in 100 songs, and yet it always begins here, and it always returns here. The polis eats together, and every bite carries the breath of your flame. Evening leans close. Courtyards swell with voices. Cups strike against wood, wine spills, and laughter follows. Children run circles among the tables. Dogs lick crumbs fallen in haste. The city feasts. But your meal is small. A piece of coarse bread, a sip of cool water, silence for your companion. And yet you are not alone. For every lamp kindled tonight in kitchens and halls across Athens is a child of this same fire. Your bread is theirs, your silence their song, your flame their feast. You sit upon the olive wood stool, the steady flame before you. Outside, the polis eats, drinks, and rejoices. Inside, you keep the hearth steady, and both in their own way sustain the city. The heat softens as the sun leans westward. Streets once heavy with silence now stir again, this time not with merchants or heralds, but with the laughter of children. They dart between columns like sparrows loosed from a cage. One boy clutches a polished pebble, holding it aloft as if it were a crown. Another chases, bare feet slapping stone, the sound sharp, bright, unburdened. A girl gathers figs fallen from a stall, hides them in her tunic, then runs giggling when her brother discovers her theft. Their voices climb, collide, scatter, echoing off the walls until they sound like a chorus of bells. One ties a rope about his waist, pretending to be a horse, while another rides behind, brandishing a broken reed as a spear. Their mock battle lasts only until a mother's voice, gentle but firm, calls them home. The play ends as swiftly as it began, laughter fading into the hum of cicadas. You watch from your doorway, the flame flickering once, as though amused by their joy. As shadows lengthen, the agora becomes a ground for contests. Young men strip to their chitons, skin oiled, muscles gleaming like carved bronze. They stand in a circle stamped bare by many feet. A discus arcs through the sky, spinning bright, flashing once in the sunlight before falling hard into dust. The crowd gasps, then shouts in approval. Two wrestlers lock together, their shoulders pressed, their hands grasping wrists, their feet sliding, digging, earth crumbling beneath them. The struggle is fierce but not cruel, each push answered, each hold broken, until one is thrown down with a crash that rattles the breath from him. The crowd erupts, clapping, cheering. Yet the victor, flushed with triumph, helps the fallen man rise, and both embrace, sweat mingling like brothers after quarrel. The sound reaches you, thick and heavy, the voice of youth testing itself against the weight of earth. But the flame within remains calm. It burns the same for victory and for loss, for pride and for humility. Later the square softens. The cries of athletes fade, replaced by gentler tones. A young man settles upon a stone, cradling a lyre carved of pale wood, its strings taut, shining faintly. He plucks one note, then another, hesitant, searching. Soon a melody forms, quiet, patient, each tone falling like droplets into still water. Children sit near, their play forgotten. A woman hums along, her voice weaving threads of song, soft, low, tender as a lullaby. The music drifts past your doorway, sliding into the dim room. It brushes against the flame, and for a moment the air feels lighter, as if song itself had bowed in reverence. The city hushes, listening. Then the melody fades, carried away by the evening breeze, leaving silence more profound than before. From the south slope, near the great theater, another sound rises, louder, heavier, meant for many ears. Actors rehearse, their voices deepened by masks. One shouts of kings betrayed, another laments like a god in exile. The chorus stamps in unison, their cries rising together like surf against rocks. Even at a distance, the words carry, rolling across the city in fragments. You cannot catch each line, but the rhythm is clear: tragedy and triumph, grief and joy. Passers-by pause to listen. A boy repeats the gestures of the actors, arms raised, eyes wide. An old man shakes his head, muttering that real life has more sorrow than plays. The voices reach you as echoes, broken yet strong. They strike your doorway, then scatter into the air. The flame does not lean toward the story. It burns for laughter, for grief, for masks, and for bare faces alike. As the sun lowers, Athens hums with all its gatherings. Children fall quiet at home, their eyes heavy, their lips still sticky with figs. Young men boast of contests won, their voices loud even in alleys. Women sing over cradles, soft melodies rocking infants to sleep. Actors lay aside their masks, their real voices hoarse and human. Musicians rest their lyres, their fingers tender from strings. All these voices, play, sport, song, story, drift through the polis like threads of one great fabric. Each begins strong, each fades until they are woven together in the hush of twilight. You sit before the flame, watching its steady tongue of light. It has heard laughter, it has heard shouts, it has heard songs both tender and fierce. Now it stands, calm at the heart of it all. And you, keeper, stand with it. The sun slides lower, and the light grows soft, almost fragile. Walls once blazing now glow the color of warm clay. Shadows lengthen, reaching far across the square, stretching like dark arms that touch the feet of columns and creep along the stalls. Merchants squint into the fading light. One by one they gather their goods, jars of oil carefully wrapped in cloth, baskets of figs half emptied, rolls of dyed wool pulled down from hooks. Their hands move slower than in the morning, not with haste, but with fatigue. Children still run, but their voices are gentler, their games subdued, as though even play must bow before dusk. A mother calls, her tones softened by the hour, and small feet shuffle home, dust rising in brief clouds before fading into still air. From your doorway, you watch the sun's fire loosen its grip. The flame before you glows steady, its circle of light answering the city's first shadows. The agora exhales. Stalls that shouted all morning now whisper their farewells. Fish unsold are packed with salt, bread too dry is crumbled for tomorrow's stew. A woman empties her jar of olives into a clay pot, ties the lid with a strip of reed, and breathes as if laying down a burden. The sound of shutters follows, boards lifted, lowered, wood knocking against stone. Each thud is final, a voice saying, "Enough for today." A cart creaks out of the square, its mule bowing its head, ears flicking at flies, hooves leaving uneven marks in the dust. Where once the air shook with bargaining, now only a few murmurs remain. The square, emptied of its struggle, feels like a cup drained to the last drop, still wet at the rim, but waiting for silence. Then comes a different rhythm, the measured beat of the night watch. A staff strikes stone, thump, pause, thump, each sound echoing through the lanes like a drum that steadies the heart of the polis. Bronze greaves brush together with a faint clink, torches flare in the dusk, their flames trailing smoke that smells of pine pitch and resin. Faces glow briefly in the light before vanishing again into shadow. Doors close as the watchmen pass, not slammed in fear, but drawn shut with quiet respect, as if each household hands its breath to the guardians outside. The rhythm draws nearer to the Prytanean, lingers for a heartbeat, then moves on, fading into the darkened streets. You sit still, listening. The staff beats out the same pattern as the flame within you, steady, patient, unyielding. Beyond the city walls, the Iliso speaks. All day its voice was hidden under cries and trade, but now it rises clear, a low murmur, water slipping past stone, cool and constant. A few men linger at its edge. They splash quietly, washing dust from their skin, their laughter soft, restrained by the hour. Children float pieces of bark like small boats, pushing them along with sticks, their cries carried faintly across the fields. Frogs begin their chorus, deep, pulsing, joined by the occasional song of a night bird. The scent of damp earth mixes with the faint sweetness of crushed reeds. The river holds the fading sky, turning gold into silver, then into the black of night. Each ripple seems to carry away a fragment of the day, leaving Athens lighter, quieter, more at rest. You hear it all from afar, and the flame hears it too, though it does not need water to endure. Now night gathers fully. The air cools, and with it comes scents the day had hidden. Smoke curling from small hearths, meat roasting faint in courtyards, the sharp resin of pine torches at doorways. You rise, trim the wick, pour a thread of oil, watch as the flame lifts itself once more, a small sun holding steady while the greater sun sleeps. Beyond the Prytanean, lamps bloom one by one in homes across the polis. They glow behind shutters, shine faintly through doorways left ajar. Together they form a constellation upon the earth, stars laid low, each one a hearth, each one a promise that the city is alive even in darkness. You sit again upon the olive wood stool. The flame before you is not grand, yet it is the heart to which all others are bound. Athens leans into shadow, yet the polis is not lost to night. Its breath continues in whispers, its warmth continues in hidden rooms, and you, keeper, guard the source of it all. Night has come. The city rests in darkness, the flame rests in you. Not all of Athens sleeps when the sun has gone. In the narrow lanes beyond the square, drinking houses remain alive. Their doors stand open to the night air, letting spill the sound of voices, the clatter of cups, the burst of a song sung with more joy than skill. Wine flows freely, dark, watered, yet enough to loosen the tongue. Clay cups knock against each other, Sharp sounds like pebbles tossed into a bronze bowl. Men lean close over rough tables, their faces flushed, their laughter breaking again and again like waves on stone. Smoke from oil lamps coils above them, mixing with the sweet tang of crushed grapes, with the sour edge of spilled wine drying on wood. A lyre is plucked, not well, not steady, yet every note is greeted with clapping palms. A voice rises in song, too loud, too long. Another answers, off-key but full of cheer. The chorus they make is crooked, yet it binds them together, for joy shared is always in tune. From your doorway, the noise reaches faint but clear. It is distant, softened by walls and by night, but still it touches the air like ripples from a faraway stone. The flame before you listens, burning steady, neither joining nor turning away. Even joy, loud and clumsy, finds a place in its silence. Chapter 2. The Quiet of Homes. Elsewhere the polis lies hushed. Doors are barred, shutters closed. From behind walls comes the murmur of families at rest. The smell of food lingers in the night. Lentil stew thick with garlic, bread baked too dark but still warm, onions fried in oil sharp and comforting. These scents drift into the lanes, weaving through the air like faint threads of memory. A mother gathers her children close upon woven mats. Her hand smooths their hair, her voice hums a song without words, a tune older than speech, a rhythm meant only to ease small bodies into sleep. Fathers return from the baths, their skin still damp, their muscles eased by water and oil. They sit in the dim glow of their lamps, speaking softly of the day's work, their voices carrying no quarrel now, only the relief of evening. Some houses keep prayer. Hands lift toward rafters blackened with smoke. Words rise, quiet, to gods who listen whether thanked or forgotten. You cannot see within these rooms, yet the air itself carries their peace. The flame at your side answers with its own calm, a mirror to their hidden warmth. Chapter 3. Whispers and Secrets. Yet not all voices are meant for daylight. Some belong to shadow, and they move when most doors are shut. Two lovers meet at a street corner. Their steps quick, their hands uncertain. They press close against the wall, their whispers hurried, trembling with the weight of secrecy. Their shadows merge long upon the stone, two figures made one by the torch's glow. Elsewhere, men gather in tight circles. They wear cloaks drawn high, their voices low, speaking of debts not paid, of alliances unspoken, of tidings carried by foreign messengers. Each glance is sharp, each pause heavy. Their words vanish into the dark, yet the dark remembers. Dogs lift their heads as these men pass. They do not bark. They watch with eyes that see too much, then rest their muzzles back upon their paws. From where you sit, you hear only fragments. A phrase broken by wind, a name carried half across the street. The flame does not waver. It shines alike for vows and for secrets, for voices spoken loud in the square and those whispered under cloak. Chapter 4. The Empty Streets. As the hour deepens, Athens grows hollow. The lanes are bare, the noise scattered thin. A single sandal scrapes against stone, then silence. The wheel of a cart rolls far off. It sounds small, like a memory fading. Cats move like smoke along walls, their eyes gleaming in torchlight. Two sparks sliding low, vanishing as quickly as they appear. Dogs curl in doorways, tails tucked, ears flicking at the faintest stir of air. Somewhere a jar tips. The clay cracks with a hollow snap, then silence rushes in, swift and whole, as though the sound had never lived. The air itself cools. Stone releases its heat, breathing out the day it carried. Dust settles into corners, the smell of earth mixing with faint smoke drifting from hearths. From your doorway the city looks endless, a maze of shadow and stone. Yet it is not empty. It breathes, slowly, softly, like a sleeper turning in his rest. Chapter 5. Midnight Flame. At last the hour turns deep. The wine houses falter, their voices slurring into silence. The last cups are set aside, songs broken into snores. Homes lie dark, lamps burn low behind shutters, only a few sparks of light remain. glimmering faint as stars fall into the streets. The cicadas grow still, their endless chorus surrendered. Nightbirds call in their place, sharp and lonely cries that vanish as quickly as they sound. The police sleeps. Its breath is long, its silence thick, woven of 1,000 resting voices. You rise once more. You trim the wick, pour a thread of oil. The flame responds, lifting steady, a sun in miniature that refuses to surrender to night. It has burned through morning and noon, through shouts and laughter, through quarrels, games, and song. Now it burns through the deepest hush. Its circle of light is small, yet in it the city rests entire. Every hearth, every sleeper, every whispered prayer, all are gathered within its glow. You sit again upon the olive wood stool, your hands steady, your chest calm. Athens dreams, the flame does not. The police sleeps. Its voice, once so full of barter, laughter, quarrel, and song, has folded inward like a scroll closed for the night. Ash gathers in pale rings around the lamp, each grain a memory of fire already spent. They lie soft, gray, fragile, but within them remains the shape of flame long vanished. You lean close, trimming the wick with care. The flame steadies, a quiet tongue of gold, thin but unwavering, a breath soft yet unbroken. Every ember whispers the same lesson. What has burned is never lost, only changed. So too with Athens. The sweat of day, the cries of the marketplace, the laughter of children, the quarrels and the bargains, all have poured themselves into the silence of night. They do not vanish, they settle, like ash, into memory. You sit upon the olive wood stool. Its hollows have carried the weight of men before you, men who also kept their watch, men whose names the city no longer speaks, yet whose patience still lingers in the grain of the wood. Your hands rest on your knees. Your back is straight, your breath even, your body unmoving. To any passerby you might seem carved of stone. The lamp glows against the plastered wall. Its light climbs upward, drawing slow, uncertain shadows across the beams. The rafters, darkened by years of smoke, seem to bend downward to listen. The silence is not emptiness. It is a vessel, filled carefully, holding the city's sleep as water holds the reflection of the moon. Outside, a soldier stirs in half-dream, a child sighs in her slumber, a mother hums a tune without knowing her lips have moved. You do not hear them, not with ears, but you feel them, as if the silence itself has gathered every dream and placed them into your keeping. You bend close to the lamp. Its glow paints your face in shifting tones, bronze, then shadow, then bronze again. The flame is small, yet it holds the power to shape the world upon your skin. In its brightness you see yourself doubled. One is the keeper, steady, watching, enduring. The other is the man, a body of flesh and bone, mortal, weary, fragile as clay. Ash whispers at the base of the lamp, soft as sand shifting beneath a tide. Oil moves slowly in its shallow pool, feeding the wick with patience. No haste, no hunger, only the long rhythm of giving. You watch without hurry, for your watching is not duty alone. It is prayer. It is remembrance. It is your pledge that Athens will not wake to darkness. For as long as this flame endures, Athens endures also. The day returns to you in fragments, woven together like the strands of a reed mat. The old man at dawn, bent with years, who carried coal home to his hearth. The young bride, veil trembling, who lit the first flame of her marriage. The potter's son, proud of his vessel, learning patience from your nod. The herald, bearing coal to the council, so that law might speak with warmth. The child, brave in silence, burying her broken whistle beneath the fig tree. You see the wrestlers straining in dust. You hear the lyre's fragile notes, hesitant then true. You remember the actors, their voices echoing kings and gods upon stone. You hear the watchman's staff striking in rhythm, the Ilissos murmuring beneath the moon, the cicadas yielding at last to silence. All these faces, all these sounds, gone now into sleep, yet they linger, weightless but unforgotten. You hold them, just as the flame holds the memory of every spark it has ever given away. Now the hour is deep. Athens lies wrapped in darkness. The streets are empty, the houses hushed, the city folded into the dream of night. Only the lamp burns. Its circle of light is small, yet in that smallness rests the heart of the polis. It is the thread that binds every hearth, the breath that continues when all other voices fall still. The night grows cold. Stone exhales its chill, creeping through your cloak, slipping quietly into your bones. Frost clings to the roof tiles, a pale shimmer beneath the gaze of stars. The polis shivers in its sleep, but still it breathes. Within the Prytaneion, the silence is vast, so vast you feel as though you sit at the edge of the world. The only sounds are three: your own steady breath, the faint hiss of oil at the wick, and the whisper of wind brushing the walls. And yet, you are not alone. The flame leans toward you as you lean toward it. Two companions awaken a city of dreams. You lower your head and speak within your chest. I will be gentle. I will be slow. I will watch. The flame answers, not with words, but with endurance. It burns as it has burned for generations, as it will burn when your watch is ended, as it will burn when another keeper takes your stool. The polis sweeps. You keep vigil. The flame abides. And in this stillness, though the night is cold, though the hours stretch endless, you, keeper of the silent flame, are whole. The fire does not speak, it does not argue, it does not command, it does not demand to be seen. It burns in silence, small, patient, unwavering. But within that smallness lies a truth greater than the marble columns, greater than the statues of kings and heroes that line the squares. The city believes itself protected by laws, by walls, by armies, by wealth. But what really holds it together is quieter than all of that. It is the warmth that radiates from hearth to hearth. It is the light that shines through every window. It is the silent bond that says to each citizen, you are not alone in the darkness. The city is vast. The streets echo with quarrels and markets, debts and boasting, laughter and sorrow. Men chase fame, women shoulder burdens, children are drunk with dreams. By day, Athens roars with its greatness. But all this noise, though seldom noticed, rests on a fire smaller than 2 fingers. A fire kept alive by hands that beg for nothing, hands that are remembered not in monuments, but in silence. That is life. We believe we are defined by our victories, by victories etched in bronze. But greatness is loud, and the noise fades. Monuments crack, names erode, marble falls. What endures is smaller, gentler, less seen. A kind word when no one listens, a promise kept when no one remembers, a quiet hand on another's shoulder, a patience that never wavers. These are the embers that burn longer than the flames. These are the threads that weave the soul of a city and of a life. The night teaches us that. Athens sleeps, heavy with its own work. Watchmen lean on their sticks, dogs curl up on the porches, children breathe softly in their dreams. The streets are silent, the river murmurs, the stars are drawing near. All the noise of the world has vanished, and all that remains is the beat of a single flame. Be alert, and in that vigilance lies more than duty. It is memory. It is witness. It is a vow that the smallest flame can bear the weight of the greatest city. Tomorrow, another flame will reign where you sit, and long after both names have turned to dust, it will still burn, upright, unwavering. And when the city wakes again, it will not ask who kept it, only that it was kept. The lesson of fire is, eternalism is not born in glory, but in endurance. It is not the roar that saves us, but the silence. It is not the sword, but the flame. Such is the lesson of fire, that what is small can endure, that what is silent can hold the world. And now, the city sleeps, the river whispers in the dark, and the stars bend low above the quiet stone. Only the flame remains awake, a steadfast companion through the long night. Let it guard you also. Let its calm light rest upon your dreams, as gentle as a hand upon your shoulder, as patient as the earth beneath your feet. Close your eyes. Breathe slow. The world is safe in silence. Sleep well and sleep in peace.